it was early in 2020. I met with one of the owners of LittleBird, who also owns several other companies, and we got to talking about technology and just what was going on in general. And he mentioned that there were a number of properties that they couldn't address with the LittleBird application because of the lack of broadband circuit, the incompatibility of using a public cellular connection for these. And I started educating him on the possibilities of using this new piece of spectrum that just came out called CBRS, and thought it was viable thing to test. So we started a test initially in their labs where we set up a mock network, and then we brought it out to 2 properties, and the live test networks proved out that this would indeed work and that coverage was adequate, and it was a viable alternative for when that broadband circuit wasn't available for those sorts of properties that they couldn't address. So fast forward to 2022, the property that we're sitting at now, Cabana Happy Valley, came available in the way that it was a new property. They could only get a broadband circuit or fiber to a single location. The property needed to open by a date. So the ability to connect this LittleBird controller from a central base station was the only option if you wanted to use the LittleBird amenity application at this property. And so this property came the first full-on commercial CBRS deployment. And we at Alef provided the core, we primed the solution, and we brought in Baicells because in the past test installations, one of the things that we noticed, and we used a competitive radio to Baicells, is that the cost didn't quite work out and the complexity didn't quite work out for somebody who needed something as simple as Wi-Fi in an MDU environment. It's not like you're working in an environment that cost is not an issue and complexity is not an issue. Cost and complexity are absolutely essential in what I call the MDU marketplace.
So in terms of just a property, LittleBird brings value to the property through the aspect of smart home, through community, through access. So by us delivering all those to the residents, the property has tangible value in that their residents are happy and feel at home and are more likely to renew their lease and stay. Or more likely to go to another property that has LittleBird as well, that they want to feel at home, like we mentioned before with the residents feel at home, they're more likely to stay. That also means for the property, it's a big selling point that they have this feature and this amenity they can offer. It's now kind of in the multifamily space. It's not a want anymore for smart prop tech. It's a need. So residents are now needing, it's on their requirements list when they go and try to find and look for their new apartment, that's a need for them now. So we're kind of stepping into this new phase in the market of, you have to offer this for residents to want to lease your apartment. How are you going to offer it? And that's how we bring in this all-in-one solution.
One of the highlights of having LittleBird at the property here is the simplicity aspect of it, and it taking the guesswork and behind the scenes work with stressing about getting keys and locks and things like that. You already know, how to add someone in, how to instruct them to download the app, and you can really focus and build a better relationship with the resident and start everything off on a good foot.
There you go. You're in the unit.
So now we're here in a unit, and this property is a little bit different than other properties. At this community, they just wanted their smart home package just to be a smart lock and a smart thermostat. We also offer additional devices that can be included in a customer's or a property's package of a smart home. So we typically do smart lights and smart wall plugins, as well as motion sensors, contacts. We can keep on adding to their smart home package. But here, we have the smart lock and the smart thermostat, which all communicate back to our smart home panel. And that smart home panel talks directly to the antennas in the CBRS system. So they are getting their connection from the CBRS system, from the antennas, back down here to this unit. So that waterfall effect of the main antenna branched out into the other building antennas and waterfalling down into the unit here.
So this is our structured wiring panel in our units. Usually it's located in the closet. Some of the units will have it in their bedroom. At this property specifically, usually a house, it's the house internet. So it's like usually the ISP is COX here. We have our smart home controller, and that's directly connected to our bridge device, which at this property, it's branded by Multitech. So this is going to be gathering the antenna signal from our CBRS system out on top of the rooftops. So it'll just pick up the antenna signal from the closest antenna. And usually how that's kind of provisioned is just a SIM card here that's connected to it, and that's how you get signal from.
So back to the streamlined connectivity from the smart home hub into the CBRS system. These devices like the smart lock and smart thermostat provide the resident an ease and comfort and sense of security that this connection is always on, specifically with their lock. When they walk up to their door, they know that their lock is going to open because of the streamlined connectivity that is always on and isn't interrupted by anything else.
So first we started off down in our head end where we have our internet coming in from the outside, or right now we have a Cox Communications internet feed. So we found out a way to be able to get that Ethernet up to the roof, and that's how we made this our main antenna. All the other antennas talk back to this one. From here, it's a mixture of a couple different antennas, some wide and some narrow beams. That way we can kind of blanket the area to get the best coverage we could. We have four base stations total. So we have them spread out across the property in kind of strategic areas. We have one over in this corner that kind of aims this way a little bit. This one kind of aims back that way a little bit. In each corner, they're kind of all aimed in a way to get the best coverage, kind of get that signal down into the first floor, and be able to get a good signal to every controller.
This is all using CBRS.
Yes.
Awesome. Do you know how quickly you're able to get all these installed?
So I believe it was 2 days. I think we did 2 antennas in one day, and then the other 2 in the other. We did have some prep time a couple days before we had the electricians come and get us power up here and at each radio location. So I'd say 2.5 days of work, and then we had all the antennas up.
Wow. Do you know how long it would take to run fiber to every single unit if you had to do that?
Running fiber or Ethernet to every single unit, that would be a couple low voltage technicians, probably a month.
So CBRS brings value to not only new builds, but also retrofits. So this is really practical in the sense that you don't have to try to bring copper or fiber into the property. You can use this CBRS system at a retrofit. And that really brings a benefit not only to LittleBird, but also to the property, that they don't have to build in that expense to get internet out there. So with CBRS antenna, you can build a new building, put a new antenna on top, and you'll still get that one-line streamlined connection to all your PropTech devices.
Because of, the success, if you will, both from an ROI and a technology perspective that we experience here, I think what you're going to see is, LittleBird's investing in CBRS. They're kind of conjoining this LittleBird controller with CBRS. You're now going to see kind of other the opportunities emerge in other verticals. One of the other verticals that could come into play is HUD type housing. HUD housing, they're behind the 8 ball. Mostly older properties, really old properties. Most of the residents do not have any sort of broadband connection, and they're looking to create a more secure environment in there. So think of this as creating the hotelification of an environment like HUD properties that prior to the free broadband money coming into play would never have been an addressable market. But because they can get most everything paid for through all the new broadband funds coming into play, this is a great environment and a more kind of efficient way to get that technology into buildings like that. The other kind of vertical, if you will, where this is also being used and where LittleBird has active projects is in the built-to-rent environment. So instead of having apartment complexes that are joined, you have a community of very small houses that are just there to rent. There's several kind of developers that focus on that, and that's also another vertical, if you will, where something like this can come into play.